right now, so much of mental health is reactive, where it's like you have to reach this almost rock bottom before you even realize, oh, wait, I need to get help. And we want to, and this is such a core part of Real, is we want to completely change that towards this world where it's proactive.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Five Questions With, our series of quick interviews with industry leaders, change makers, and those who inspire our community. We're talking professional journeys and about investing in your education and career and self with those who have been in our shoes. I'm Janetta Hott, founder of MBAchic, a platform and community for MBAs and professionals around the world. We help navigate business school, careers, and more with the goal of propelling more women into the C-suite. Speaking of C-suite, I'm here today with Dr. Nina Vasan, psychiatrist, entrepreneur, and chief medical officer of mental health startup Real. As CMO, Dr. Nina Vasan leads Real's team of expert therapists. Outside of her work at Real, she is a psychiatrist and professor at Stanford, where she is the founder and executive director of Brainstorm, the Stanford Lab for Mental Health Innovation. She has served as a healthcare advisor to the United Nations, the World Health Organization's Director General's Office, and the Obama and Biden presidential campaigns. Dr. Vasan earned an AB in government from Harvard College, graduating as one of Glamour magazine's top 10 college women. She earned an MD from Harvard Medical School and completed psychiatry residency at Stanford School of Medicine, where she was chief resident. She received her MBA from Stanford's Graduate School of Business. Thank you for being here, Nina. I wanted to make sure I read through all of that.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to this. All right, so let's dive right in. It's 5 questions with. The first one, we're going to dive in to the MBA. So what drew you to the MBA? What did the MBA mean to you, this investment in yourself and career, now that you're on the other side?
Yeah, I love it. Let's dive right in. The first thing is community. Community is something, it's a core value to me and has been for such a long time. And I think that being able to be a part of the business community and really be able to immerse myself in this way is something that's been really important to me. So that was really the first thing. And I think the second thing then would be entrepreneurship. And that's why, in particular, having been at Stanford and being in the middle of Silicon Valley and seeing how innovation was being developed and launched, really wanting to be able to not only just educate myself in entrepreneurship, but really surround myself with entrepreneurs. And in this case, this entrepreneurial community, it just seemed like being able to spend 2 years where I would not only, be surrounded by these amazing people and think about ideas with with people who had already started companies, who were ideating and thinking about what are the new ways of creating companies and everything. But then also thinking about, the course of our lifetime. And I just remembered thinking about college and how so many of my friends now, even 20 years later, my closest friendships are the people who I went to school with, realizing, wait, I want that again, and being able to then have such a unique opportunity and privilege, I think, to go back to school. In my case, which actually was a little bit of a later stage, I was in my early 30s. I think that then being able to build those friendships where it was not only personal relationships, but also professional relationships, and know that these are people who are going to be a part of my life for the rest of my life, that's just such a special opportunity. So the mix of community plus entrepreneurship plus like lifelong friendships.
So true. Yes, it's a very intense 2 years, but you really do get all of that, right?
Absolutely.
And you were also coming through med school and residency and all of that. So let's ask about that, because you started in medicine and you were always very entrepreneurial. You're an author, you've pursued entrepreneurial projects as you dove further into healthcare. And now you're in the C-suite as CMO for Real, an organization focused on increasing access to high quality mental health care and looking to change the conversation around mental health. Did you always have this sort of path in mind for yourself, from your MBA days, I guess, or med school days to today? What did this path to the C-suite and your current work look like?
Yeah, I think that I have always had this sense of really wanting to combine business with medicine. And in particular, having been interested in healthcare, really from my kind of from a young age when I started to be interested in healthcare was really always interested in this much bigger picture, this sense of how do we, when we think about healthcare, how do we solve healthcare problems for entire communities? And I think that when I was in college, I studied government and felt like policy is a really phenomenal way of solving those problems. And as I went on and entered medical school, when I was in medical school, that's really when the first wave of direct to consumer health tech companies came around. And I felt like, wow, this is such an incredible way to scale what we're doing. If we think about the traditional patient doctor relationship and encounter of this, 10, 15, 20, 30-minute appointment with your doctor, and then the opportunity to actually have, like a mobile device in your hand, and that allows you to reach millions of patients. That whole change in mindset for healthcare was completely transformational. And that's exactly what I was experiencing when I was in medical school. That's actually what made me want to then move out to Stanford for residency and immerse myself in the Silicon Valley way of thinking, way of problem solving. And so from that time, I was really interested in, again, that, what then does the big picture look like? And just as policy is able to reach so many people, what is the role then of business, and what is the role of entrepreneurship in reaching so many people? And for me, having had this interest in mental health, it really meant, okay, how do we take what is happening in the rest of healthcare and apply that to mental health, thinking about all these big questions like access, equality, and really thinking about the social side of things, where we know that there's so many social inequalities. How do we leverage things like technology and entrepreneurship to really solve so many of these important problems? And really, at the end of the day, I think entrepreneurship and technology uniquely allow you to solve these problems. So I think that, to answer your question, I think that it had always been something that had been a way of problem solving that really fascinated me. And I don't know that I would have said that I saw myself. I didn't even know what like a chief medical officer was probably in medical school. So that part I think was definitely new. I think I thought I would be a part of a startup for sure. The entrepreneurial journey is something that had always appealed to me, and I think was just like a natural way of thinking about things, even from my early days, in high school, really. But to be a C-suite person, I think that's something I might not have necessarily thought of. And it's been such an incredible delight to be able to really make decisions on this level and see how to be able to have that unique vantage point, I think, where I'm able to draw upon my clinical expertise, and I do still treat patients, and be able to see what's going on in my patients' lives, and then applying that to what we're doing at Real, and thinking, okay, how do we then translate that to the experience of, thousands, tens of thousands of people across the country, and what then do they need so that we can really best solve their individual problems, but do that at scale.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It makes perfect sense, right? Business has a way to disrupt certain, like the intersection of tech and the mental health. Like, it's true. We haven't seen transformation of a space like this for so long. Like seeing speaking to a counselor or someone on your cell phone or texting. Now we have with people. It is really cool to see how things have, like you said, you're able to reach more people. You're able to increase access to the healthcare and scale. In a single practice, you can see how many patients in a day. But
you nailed
amazing.
it. You absolutely nailed it. If we look at the history of mental health, actually, like Prozac came around in the 1980s, and that was one of the biggest transformations historically in healthcare. And then if we look at therapy hasn't really changed in like 100 years. Like literally the way that Freud was practicing therapy, it's not that different really, as of like 5 years ago compared to what it was like 100 years ago. And so the fact that we have these technologies, to me, what's interesting, actually, there are a few things that are really interesting. One is simply, we all like literally live with our devices, right? I mean, unfortunately, I will admit, I even like have this like 2 feet away from me when I'm sleeping, and I tell my patients not to do that, but I still do it, and I know I'm not supposed to be doing it, right? But I truly, we live with this device, right? And what's so powerful about it is that it does give us this opportunity to deliver care. But I actually think one of the things even that like where the next phase actually of innovation is that it allows us to actually measure and track things about human behavior that we never have before. And that's like this amazing, unique insight into the human brain that we literally have never had. And so the ability to then see what's going on with people is going to allow us to diagnose people early, to see is someone struggling much early, like days, weeks, months, even years earlier than we historically have been able to, and then we can reach them earlier and allow them to then get treatment earlier. And so really, where right now so much of mental health is reactive, where it's like you have to reach this almost rock bottom before you even realize, oh wait, I need to get help. And we want to and this is such a core part of Real, is we want to completely change that towards this world where it's proactive, and you're really thinking about how do we optimize health, and how do we not only keep you well and healthy, but make sure that you're getting that help in that earliest stage possible, and not when you've hit rock bottom. So really changing what that whole world and our entire kind of concept of mental health even looks like.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And it totally, it absolutely speaks to this theme of innovation and change and disruption and community, even that you were talking about earlier. All right. So moving on to number 3, I want to say what really, some of this, what drives you as a leader? It sounds like we're kind of getting into this. What's your leadership philosophy? What do you think has been key to your success? And if there have been any sort of mentors or sponsors along the way, would love to hear about that.
Yeah, if I had to say one word, it would be impact. And one of my friends, one of my business school classmates actually has this saying that she always says, what are you solving for? And I think for me, I'm always solving for impact. And I think that, as I'm making decisions, that's really one of the first thing that's in my mind. And I can even as I'm visualizing, okay, like what's the outcome here going to be? It's okay, what is the impact we're going to make? Who is that impact on? What's the scale of that impact? And that's so much of how I think about the decisions that I'm making and what choice I want to make. And so I think that when thinking about what drives me, there's a mix there. One is being in a world like mental health, where it's such a phenomenally mission-driven field. I think that, for all of us at Real, like it's like we live this, it's not just that it's like, oh, here's the social cause we care about, which there is the social cause we care about, but it's so deep in terms of how we care about it, because most people, it's that either like you have a loved one or you yourself have struggled with some element of mental health yourself. And it's such a deeply personal, emotional thing when one does struggle, that drive, it really the passion for that is ultimately, I think, what drives many of us. And I'll just speak for myself here, to get out of the bed in the morning. And when it's like, I know even in healthcare, so I hear so many colleagues say, like, what's wonderful when you have that passion and when you have that mission is that even on the worst days, because it's a job, we're all going to have bad days, right? Knowing that you've been able to make some impact because you have that purpose behind you, it's that sense of purpose, that's tremendously important. So the purpose behind you, plus then for me, looking to see what is the impact then that I'm going to make towards that purpose, that combination, I think, is really what keeps everything going. And then your other question around who inspires you, who served as a mentor, to me, what's actually been so inspiring is really realizing that, like, I feel like you can find inspiration and mentorship in everyone. And I think that traditionally that sense of mentorship is often someone who's older or, some kind of senior person. Yeah. I've actually found my peers to be among the people who inspire me the most. And I actually say, like, some of my best mentors, even like at a young age, even in college, I found myself to be so inspired by my peers. And now, when I look to see what my peers are doing, they're the ones who I actually end up going to first for advice, and look like, wow, that's amazing what you did. Like, how can we think about doing something together, or tell me how you did this? And now we even, especially in mental health, I'm finding myself phenomenally inspired by Gen Z. The way that Gen Z is like talking and thinking about mental health, they are advancing the field, and like especially some things like stigma, they are doing a far better job than any generation before that. I'm a millennial myself, and I admire what they are doing so much in so many ways. I think it's just really wonderful to be able to look to other, other people, and in this case, like the younger generation, to really set the tone for what we all need to be doing. So I just love even being able to find inspiration and mentorship in everyone.
That's fantastic. Oh, you're absolutely right. The whole conversation that Gen Z is leading really on mental health. I know when we connected, we'll drop the link in the show notes, but when we connected on our mental health in business school conversation, I think I recounted then as well. Anytime we interact with someone who's part of Gen Z, who's maybe thinking about business school or just their career in general, mental health is one of the priorities. And I can't remember, I can't count on one hand how many times that has come up as a millennial, again, in conversation with friends about careers. That was maybe, 9 or 10 on the list. It really never came up, but to be leading, it definitely speaks to the health of, just kind of how people are thinking about it, yes, but like just the priority that they're placing on their health and the mental health. And, I think seeing generations past is also helpful, but I really like that point.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. And you asked
Yeah.
about the keys to success. And I think that there, I would say, really collaboration and actively seeking collaboration and community.
Yeah.
And, I'll go to mental health. Mental health has been so siloed by itself. And so I think that being in a field like that, that's really been siloed, even from the rest of healthcare, mental health has been very siloed. And then certainly from the rest of the world, I think I've had this extra push to try to create community. One, almost like so many times I feel like I want to be this ambassador for mental health within not only the rest of healthcare, but really just like for the world, to go out to speak in public and being able to even do something like this, right? Like as a psychiatrist, there's such a kind of, there's this, a lot of people have this image of what a psychiatrist is. And I want to change that. I want to help people see that there are a lot of things of what a psychiatrist can be, and really like humanize what it is to be a psychiatrist and make people feel like, oh, this is someone I can talk to. This is someone who I want to be a part of my health and healthcare journey and everything. And so in terms of being able to collaborate, I think that for me, what that's meant is, not looking at things in terms of competition, but rather turning something that could be competition into collaboration. And being in, for me, I've been in the world of academia for most of my career, and now I'm in I'm in the startup world. And with that, I'll say, tech, mental health, healthcare, all those sorts of communities, all those sorts of sectors. And in business, of course, there's an inherent sense of competition, but being able to really think about, and I think with mental health, why I don't view that as competition is, one, when we think of just the demand out there, even if there are 5 or 10 or 50 companies that are all trying to solve problems in mental health, we can all solve these problems and all be successful as companies, because the demand is so big. It's such that when I see someone else who's doing something great in mental health, I don't think negatively towards them. I don't think, oh, that's the competition. I think, I'm so glad of what they're doing. How can we work together? How can I support what they're doing? And let them carve out the niche of what they want to do, because it's such a hugely tremendous problem. We need multiple people, multiple forces, multiple companies, all, figuring out their own unique solution to what's going on here. So competition over collaboration, bringing other people in, having that sense of we're all kind of in this together, and creating community. I think that's ultimately what's the most important thing for me.
Absolutely. It's really like a team sport.
Exactly.
100%.
Yes, the team
I like
sport.
that approach.
I love that. Yeah, I love the team sport. Yeah.
Because it's on everyone's plate. Okay. I want to keep this moving. Oh, what you kind of talked a little bit about this, right? But what are you most proud of during your career? And what has, maybe your subject matter or whatnot, what has been most challenging or most surprising, and why?
So I would say that the thing that I'm most proud of, when I was in medical school, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, depression as the colloquially, and I made a choice at that time to be very public and open about it. And over time, that being public about it has been only expanded, such that now I talk very openly about it when I give talks, when I'm on podcasts, and even now actually on my LinkedIn. It's actually the first thing that I talk about, and talk about the term we use in mental health when you struggle with mental health yourself. We call it, the term is lived experience. That one has the lived experience of having a mental illness, and so I really put it out there front and center. And it's something that even in our medical training as physicians, we are told and taught not to do this, that basically, you don't want to share anything about yourself. But I've made a really active choice to do that. And it's something that certainly has been very hard. I'm sure that a lot of people might, it is very difficult. There is an incredible amount of stigma, and unfortunately, even within the medical field itself, there's even more stigma that physicians have towards other physicians. There's this sense that like one of this phrase is "physician heal thyself," which is that as doctors, we heal other people, but we can't ever be sick ourselves.
Right.
And so there is that sense that I'm sure there is some judgment from other people, but for me, it's been the sense of I feel like it's so important. My background has been in advocacy and activism, and to be able to really show people, I'm someone who struggled myself. I still struggle, I say that very actively to people that both depression is something that I had in the past and have overcome. Anxiety is something I still deal with on a daily basis, and to be able to show, to humanize it, and for people to see, you can be X, Y, and Z. You can be successful professionally and still have all these things, right? And moreover, I think that when I see then the quality of discussions I'm able to have, especially with the younger generation, I feel like it has really broken so many barriers and allowed us to just be real. And that's why I love that the name of our company is Real, because ultimately, I think that is what needs to change. We need to talk about this stuff in the way that 50% of Americans over the course of their lifetime will have a diagnosable mental health disorder. We need to talk about this stuff in a very real way, that a lot of us have this. It's not something that other people deal with. It's something that I deal with. And so to be able to just change the conversation of what that looks like. So I'm really proud of being public and getting that out there, even if there are, professional risks and things that it may have closed opportunities in some way, that it's something that I just deeply believe in.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful. Absolutely. And it's like you said, it helps you reach so many more people, especially the younger generation, but it opens up so much. Oh, fantastic. Okay. We're at the last.
I think that authenticity, I think that I feel like one, to be able to destigmatize what mental health is like, but then also just for me, I felt like I just want to be authentic. I want to be able to be who I am and not have to, to be real.
Be real. Yeah. I'm going to drop there's like a clip like from an old West Wing episode. And basically the chief of staff to the president has a friend who is his deputy, I think, and he deals with like a mental health struggle. And there's a story that he shares about being in his shoes once before. And I have to share that with you, but we don't have time to play it here.
Yeah, I love so my ringtone to my phone is the West Wing theme song. So the minute I think of like, oh yes, I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Huge West Wing fan. I love the West Wing. In fact, when COVID started, the first thing I did was rewatch all of the West Wing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Yes. Perfect. Okay. Well, we got to one of our rapid fires already.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So fabulous. Okay. So the last question is, what words of advice would you offer to those embarking on ambitious career paths and setting big goals in life?
So first, build community and keep your community front and center. I think that to me has just been really that core thing that always I keep coming back to. And then secondly is connect to the why. When we think about the mission, why you're doing what you're doing, that really is going to be the most important thing that keeps you going. So being able to keep that in your heart and at your core.
Yeah. Honestly, I think like you said, your path, it's kind of your entrepreneurial, your idea, your passion for innovation has sort of led you, but maybe C-suite wasn't on your radar to begin with, but I think your passion for innovation, but also just being authentic has kind of opened things up. And, mental health is something that touches everyone and there are plenty of people working on it. And I think the spin you're putting on it allows you to be real, but also just to reach more people, especially the younger generation coming up, who's got just like so much thrown onto them. And just, I think even more pressure to perform at a younger age than any of us dealt with. So
absolutely.
It's really powerful. All right. I mean, this is great. Thank you. We will to close this out, we'll flip into some rapid fire questions. We got into a bit of the West Wing fandom, so I'm going to go into the next one. What was your first job?
So when I was in high school, I worked at the Wood County Public Library, my local library. And what I did was I would put magnetic strips on the binding between the spine of the book. Basically, you put these magnetic strips there, and
Mm.
that's what prevents people when you you check out the books and then you walk through the like little the detectors. That's what they use to make sure that no one's like stealing books or that you've checked out your
Oh
books
my
properly.
gosh.
And so, well, basically, what was awesome is that when all the new books would come in, I would be there in the basement, like putting this little sticker on. So I got like the first peek at the new books, and it felt like really, it basically like felt like very powerful. Of like, ooh, I get the first sneak peek, and like every now and then I would like take one of the books and put them to the side and be like, ooh, I want to be the first one to read this new book coming out. And so that was the big perk. The big perk of the job was like
Oh my
getting to kind of
gosh.
like put a book aside every now and then.
Oh, I love it. Yes, the first scoop. Oh, I
It
love
was
that.
very, very nerdy. It was very nerdy.
I love it. It's your risk management. You're kind of running it. That's so good. What was the, let me skip around a little bit. Okay. What is your go-to power breakfast?
So usually I love eggs. I love like scrambled eggs in the morning and just something, like warm and hot. And it's like the simplest thing. I feel like you can never really mess up scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
I think that just like, and no matter what you, and like no matter what you put in, it's going to work. And I feel like
Yeah.
all like cultures have some version of eggs that are great. So scrambled
Right.
eggs, just
Yeah.
always love it.
Solid. Stand by. Perfect. Do you have a secret talent or hobby that people might be surprised to hear about?
I do. So I am amazing at whistling. And I should also preface this by saying that I cannot sing or dance or act or draw, like basically all the like performable artistic talents. I have
Okay.
zero, but I'm a very good whistler.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't
like,
really help me much,
like,
but I
yeah,
know it. I know
you
I
can like
can.
hail a cab in New York City. Oh, I love it. Oh my God. I'm like, we're going to blow people's ears out if we go for
That's
it,
right.
but
That's right. Yeah.
okay. Stay tuned. Go attend a real talk
There we go.
that
Yeah.
she
We'll do a little
hosts
tune.
or does.
I'll do like a little tune on one of the next real talks.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. What was the best book you read or podcast you heard in the last 12 months?
Yes, there is a book called Eat It. And so it's basically, so, if we think about like the wellness industry, diet, all of that. So I myself have struggled with diet, exercise, all like eat, like kind of body image issues, probably
Yeah.
since I was a teenager. And that whole industry, it's this like $1 billion industry. People are always putting different books out, different diets, do this, do that. And there's this book called Eat It. It is the single best book I have ever read in this entire space. And the reason why I loved it, in fact, after I read it, I texted like dozens of people saying, like, please read this
Yeah.
because it's so healthy and normalizing around like what you eat, how you exercise, how you approach nutrition. It really it's like marketed as this like health well-being book, but it really actually almost felt like a mental health guide where
Yeah.
recognizing that for so many people like myself, where when we are struggling with things like food and exercise, that it's not about the food and exercise. So much of it is these like incorrect thoughts and things like that. These
Totally.
social pressures and stuff that we've had after many years and things like that. And it really corrects so many of those. And I've never seen a book in this space talk about that sort of stuff, talk about the mental health, talk about the cultural issues and stuff like that, and just be like, hey, you're okay, and here's why
Mm.
you're okay, and here's how to deal with the very normal things around mental health and bring those two together. So I thought it just did a phenomenal job of bringing those two together. And just truly, it felt like I felt like it undid truly decades um, of like incorrect thinking about so much of this stuff around body image and health and lifestyle.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And like the early 2000s, I feel like, again, Gen Z is pioneering this, but I
Yeah.
think millennials are kind of sharing it. And then Gen Z is like, absolutely not. So they're talking about like
Yeah.
the early 2000s, like that diet culture and celebrity
Yeah.
culture. This is not really a rapid fire now, but sort of like celebrities and the really like the pressure to be rail thin and sort of the mental health, like how the toll it took on their mental health, but also on the mental health of girls following and women following, like all the celebrity movies and all the magazines. So really interesting. We'll definitely
Yeah.
link that book and share
Yes.
it. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to read that, to be
Absolutely.
honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's crazy to me just thinking about how pervasive it is,
Yeah.
and I like how, but what is great and what I love about the book is it just like it can be changed, it can be corrected, and just really felt like it was really important.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, that's great. We'll end it on there. That's so good. Thanks for playing. Rapid fire is like always a good way
Fun, yeah,
to
yeah.
share more. So thank you, Nina, for being here, for sharing your insights with us. It was great to hear from you and get your advice for those following in your shoes. And we really thank you for making the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And you can find Dr. Nina Vasan on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. She's at Nina Vasan. We'll share everything. We'll share the clips. We'll share her full bio on our website. So head to MBAchic.com after this. All right. Well, take care. Thank you, Nina. Have a great day. Bye.